Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our new practical webinar. Today I'm co-hosting it with a good friend of mine, Vukasin, who is head of growth at Lemlist. I believe lots of you know this software and maybe some of you even use it. So with Vuk, we are going to share with you the hands-on cold outreach and the behind of scenes of some cold email campaigns that had more than 30% positive reply rate. So I feel that would be extremely valuable for you. And before we'll start, can you please type in the chat where you're from, guys? I need to admit all the people here, and while I'm doing this, I'm really curious to see where you're from. So let us know. Colombia, Germany, Belgium, Serbia, Bosnia, Ukraine. So London, UK, Czech, Netherlands, UK, Macedonia, Spain, yeah, Brazil, wow, New Jersey, United States, cool. So I see that we have people all across the globe. Maybe we don't have, I assume we don't have Australians right now, and maybe people from Asia because it's too late. But yeah, happy to see lots of people here. So, and just another quick question: can you please type your job roles, marketing, department, marketing, sales, executives, etc. So we'll try to make more relevant examples when presenting the slides. Sales, marketing, head of sales, sales marketing, agency owner, marketing, business development. Cool. So I see mostly sales people are here. Okay, cool. That would be, I feel that would be very valuable for you guys. So what we are going to talk about today. First of all, I want to present you the results from the State of B2B Marketing research I have done with my co-founder, Vladimir Blagojevic, who is also Serbian. You see that we have a big Balkan team here, and we are presenting from Balkans as well. I'm in Split, Croatia, Vuk is in Belgrade, Serbia. So yeah, like Balkan team is here. So we are going to present the results from this State of B2B Marketing research. And first of all, I want to share with you the top challenges. 200, so more precisely, I feel 220 companies shared with us their top B2B marketing and sales challenges. I feel that would be extremely valuable to share these challenges in the context of this webinar. Next, I want to share the prerequisites of successful outreach and 3 layers of personalization. Next would be the usage of intent data to make a good list of target accounts for the cold outreach campaigns. Next, I present some ideas on personalizing your outreach and how basically to get replies. I want to share, there would be one part where I would like to share you some videos on what types of proposals we are sending at fullfunnel.io. As well, Vuk has lots of good stuff, so you'll see some behind of scenes campaigns that Lemlist team is running. So I feel that would be extremely valuable. We were even joking with Vuk that this webinar might replace you dozens of courses on cold outreach. So let's see if we are right. So let's dive in. Quick intro. For those who don't know me, I'm co-founder at fullfunnel.io. So it's a full funnel B2B marketing consultant company that serves tech and service-based companies with long and complex sales cycles. As well, I recently launched my software as a service company called ROIplan. So this marketing planning software for B2B teams where you can orchestrate cold outreach campaigns as well. I wrote a book on LinkedIn B2B inbound marketing, and you'll see lots of ideas from that book in this webinar as well. I'm running B2B Marketers and Founders community, and basically I spent 15 years in B2B marketing and sales. And now, Vuk, I assume that lots of you have heard about Vuk, who is head of growth at Lemlist, my beloved software when it comes to cold outreach. And this year, I hope it will be not only software for the cold outreach, but for the entire outbound. And yeah, you'll just need to take and to keep an eye on their roadmap and on their, let's say, product pipeline. For those who don't know, Lemlist was bootstrapped to 5 million in annual recurring revenue just in 3 years. And I'm honored to say that I was among the first beta testers when the Lemlist existed just on the paper. So I know Guillaume for many years. So yeah, that's why I love this software. And actually, Guillaume as well, Guillaume Vuk, I was talking about Guillaume Vuk spent 6+ years in B2B marketing space and outbound, so I feel you'll learn a lot from him as well. So that's it. I believe that you didn't come to listen about us, you came to learn more about outbound, practical outbound campaigns. So first of all, let's dive in the state of B2B marketing research. I want to present you the key challenges our respondents stated. Basically, keep in mind that we talked to 220 plus companies that belong to so-called vertical with long and complex sales cycles. The top challenges are not aligning sales, marketing, and client success teams. Next one is low response rate to outreach campaigns. Next one is targeting the relevant decision makers. So these are top 3 challenges. And I want to break it down. And basically, we were analyzing all the replies. And we defined the so-called ROI taxes. Basically, what's happening to your company if you are making these mistakes. And when it comes to low reply rates to outreach campaigns, here are the most common mistakes. One-size-fits-all approach, such as sending mass messages with minimal personalization, basically setting up a cadence, and sending a same generic message to all of your target accounts. And unfortunately, no software will help you to get positive replies. You can be as creative as you want, but if it's like generic message, not personalized, then nothing will help. Next one, prospecting the decision makers only. This is critical because if you are selling to mid-size or enterprise companies, in most cases, you are dealing with the buying committee, and it's extremely hard to, pass through the gatekeepers and get the attention of the decision makers. And you won't avoid the buying committee. That's why it makes sense to start building the relationship with people from your target accounts from the buying committee beforehand, before the outreach. Next one is broad market targeting. Lots of companies, when I usually ask a question like, can you describe me your ideal customer profile? In most cases, I hear something like, well, we are targeting, let's say, startups from North America. That means that you try to hit, if you remember that game called Warcraft, it's basically going and shoot all the market with napalm campaigns, which doesn't work, obviously. Next one is absence of market positioning and unique value proposition. Basically, if you are reaching out, and I will share with you some bad examples of outreach when people are reaching out and saying like, hey, do you need any kind of search engine optimization or web design services or software development? This is the worst way to do outreach. Next one is lack of warm-up programs. We know that the chances to get a reply from a company or from a person that is already aware about you are more higher than just reaching out to people who never heard about you, about your company. And the last point here is lack of creativity. Basically, when we had the first lockdown, I saw the stats. Lots of companies actually were saying that they increased the amount of outbound campaigns. That said, you can imagine how many messages, how many LinkedIn messages, how many emails decision makers are receiving every day. And if you want to cut through the noise, to get the attention, you must be creative. And basically, Lemlist helps with this as well. So how basically B2B companies are trying to fix these challenges? One company, one respondent, basically this is a client of fullfunnel.io, CEO of that company told us, like, I saw the flood of COVID-driven desperate marketing attempts by everybody. Basically, I stole that quote to use in this webinar. And this is the example of these emails, saying, hello, Andre at getleader.com. Even I don't, GetLeader was rebranded to fullfunnel.io a year ago, but you see, like, people are still use my email instead of first name. And I just wanted to know if you require a better solution to manage search engine optimization services. Unfortunately, still lots of companies are sending this how to say it more politely, bad emails. So, and as you understand, it doesn't work, and the reply rate is miserable. And I want to share with you the prerequisites of successful outreach. And I have 5 points I want to share with you. First of all, it's an ideal customer profile and account segmentation, because depending on the revenue potential of companies you are reaching out, you need to personalize your outreach. Next one is account research. It always makes sense to find, first of all, to find a fit between you and your prospect. And I know I recently posted about it on LinkedIn. Lots of companies tend to think about scalability. They want to build a big list of accounts and reach out to everybody, and they tend to think this is a scalable strategy. From my point of view, the campaigns that you are running on a small scope for a good quality list of accounts, which you know how exactly you are going to help, you know the fit, you know exactly what you can present to them, is way better in terms of ROI and results than this, let's say, mass campaigns that never lead to any business opportunities. So the next step is account research. Step number 3, or point number 3, is tier personalization, because as I mentioned, depending on this revenue potential, you need to personalize your outreach messages. Let's say for tier 1, for the companies with the highest revenue potential, you should be running 100% personalized messages. Doesn't matter if it's email, LinkedIn, or direct mail. And for tier 3, you can run, let's say, vertical-based and job role personalized messages. Point number 4 here is creativity. This is something that I mentioned. You need to cut through the noise. And point number 5, which is critical, is multi-channel follow-up cadence. Just to get more results, you need to follow up people on different channels. And this is true, like if you want to get the results, you need to have this cadence. You can't rely on one channel, because let's say if I just remember the times I was working at Kimberly-Clark. So we had these firewalls that basically were blocking all the emails that were coming from, let's say, unsolicited domains. So you simply couldn't get to my inbox. So that's why it makes sense to follow up people on different channels. Let's start with Icp Worst Practices. For people who don't know what Icp means, it's ideal customer profile. 6 ideas here. Broad targeting. Our target is chief executive officers from startups from North America. Basically, if you are trying to prospect the broad market, if you're trying to be one size fits all, it means that always keep in mind that all other companies are sending the same messages. So basically, why somebody should reply to your outreach? Why somebody should even consider your company? That's the first thing. Lack of personalization, something that I shared with you recently. What made you think that I'm interested in search engine optimization services or web development or whatever? And basically, what's here for me? So I clearly see you want to sell me, but basically, you even didn't provide me any insights. Why should I choose your company? Any reasons to consider your company? Unique value proposition and positioning are universal and not tailored to the vertical. Basically, let's say I'm running now software as a service company. And if I was considering, let's say, search engine optimization agency, I'd rather go with a company that will share with me case studies, how they grew, you know, a bootstrap startup like Lemlist was 3 years ago. Now ROIplan at this point, so I just launched it. And I would be interested to talk to people, you know, who took from the ground that, let's say, B2B SaaS company and help to create a stable organic traffic. Next one, ignoring the buying committee at mid-size and enterprise companies, something that I shared with you already. If you are going up market, you'll be always dealing with the buying committee, and the higher is the product or service you are selling, the more inevitable becomes the internal discussion where your champion or decision maker will ask a question like, guys, okay, we have this proposal, so what are your thoughts on it? Should we go with this, let's say, vendor or with this product, or should we consider any other solution? So this is critical, and that's why it always makes sense to, you know, to warm up, to build the relationship with all the people from the buying committee, because if they are aware about you, the chances they will say, yeah, I have heard lots of things about this solution, so let's give it a try, would be much higher than if you'll be just a random vendor about who this company never heard. Next, reaching out without research. This is something what I mentioned, sending these desperate emails, trying to plan the game of numbers, you know, pretending that, okay, I need to send 1,000 emails and maybe one person will reply back. This is a game of numbers. What will you do next? You know, once you'll be go out of once your account list will be finished, what will you do next? So the last point here is that if you are ignoring the rule that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, then nothing will help. So first of all, I suggest to establish the relationship with the audience. That's why I always say that before outreach, it always makes sense to use intent data, to use social signals, to run demand generation campaigns, and then reaching out to people that, let's say, raised their hands and showed the interest or potential interest in your solutions. So when it comes to account selection and disqualification, this is critical here. These are some best practices on qualifying your accounts. I mentioned that we have 3 tiers. Tier 1 are basically the companies with the highest revenue potential. Tier 2 are the companies with the medium revenue potential. And Tier 3, the companies with the lowest revenue potential. And as you guess, the higher is the revenue potential, the more personalized should be your campaigns. My question always is like, why should companies or prospects from your target accounts who can generate 10 times more revenue be approached or be prospected the same way as companies that has, like, let's say 10 times, 20 times lower revenue potential? Makes no sense. But most companies do it like the same way. So they try to prospect all the companies, you know, pretending that all leads, all accounts were created equal, which is not true. So you need to be very clear on this account segmentation criteria. And the key point here is that you need to understand the buying committee and set up disqualification criteria. Disqualification is critical because you'll avoid wasting time on leads that are bad fit, that will never buy for you. For example, you can see, like in our case, so this is a qualification criteria for fullfunnel.io. So basically, if you see that the company is like fintech, but it's like aligned with cryptocurrency, we don't work it, we disqualify this company. If this company sells, like, let's say, low ticket SaaS, then we disqualify this company, etc. So this is something that you definitely need to establish to a company to have a better, more quality account lists. 3 layers of personalization based on account segmentation. 100% personalized campaigns for tier 1 accounts, job role plus vertical personalization for tier 2 accounts, and vertical unique value proposition for tier 3 accounts. Basically, what I mean here by vertical unique value proposition is, let's say, if Vuk were pitching me on Lemlist, on trying Lemlist, he might say, okay, we help, let's say, executives of bootstrapped B2B SaaS companies to fill in sales pipeline with personalized multi-channel email campaigns. Would you like to check it out? More or less, just something that came to my head, but you got the idea. So it's personalized to the industry, to the job role, and to the goal I have at the moment. So action steps here: define account segmentation criteria and develop an ideal customer profile. Maybe I didn't check the chat, but I assume every time I'm hosting the webinar, I hear this question: will we receive the recording? Yes, you will. So once we'll finish the webinar, we'll upload the video to the Content Hub. I will send you some more articles as well with the webinar recording and the slides, so you'll be able to learn more about account segmentation, about ideal customer profile, because unfortunately we won't have enough time to cover these topics in the details. So let's move forward. That was the first step. Ideal customer profile and account segmentation are, let's say, fundamental things for successful outreach campaigns. Next one is leveraging intent data for list building. This is what I mentioned. It's way easier to reach out to companies that are aware about your product or about your service. First of all, if you are running LinkedIn demand generation campaigns, if you are not aware what is it, just visit my LinkedIn profile, scroll to the post section, and you'll see how the demand generation looks like in real time. So the goal is here is to connect them with target accounts, educating them with your content, involving them into conversations, and basically LinkedIn provides you lots of data that you can use for the outreach. So you can see the people who engaged with your content. You can see the companies that consumed your content. You can see people who visited your profiles. And you can see people who visited your website. You can install software like Leadfeeder or Albacross or Happier Leads and basically identify these companies. And now, based on this information, you can start conversations, not outreach, but conversations. Basically, you can reach out and ask, like, you checked, let's say you were interested in my ideal customer profile guide, or let's say this hands-on cold outreach webinar. Any specific questions did you have? Or if I know that you have attended this webinar, I might ask, like, was it valuable for you? Any specific questions? Did you find something that you want to implement at your company? And basically, this is the first step, how you can start the conversations with people, you know? So that's the first thing. Collect info about website visitors. So the critical point here is, you can see just as an example from my Albacross account. So you can see the company that is visiting your website, but you shouldn't reach out to everybody. You shouldn't reach out to any given company. So you need to have a clear list of engagement criteria. So like in our case, you can see visited work with us page. So basically this is our service page. And this person, this company should visit it at least twice or spend more than 5 minutes. LinkedIn engagement, at least with 5 posts. Downloaded some gated content. In our case, we don't have lots of gated content. Mostly it's like email course on full funnel B2B marketing and some ebooks. Next, visited product pages, 2 visits in last 14 days, which obviously means that this company has some interest. And total time on the website, more than 30 minutes. If company spends more than 30 minutes, then definitely they might have some interest, or at least it says that they have interest in your content, and you can reach out and see how you can help this company, because you know the truth is that relationship starts with helping. There are lots of talks. This is what I was sharing on the recent webinar I did with Stefan from Expander. Lots of people are talking about the relationship, but rarely somebody can say how to establish this relationship in a real life. Let's move forward. Step number 3, leverage search and signals. You can use software like Bombora that can provide you a list of accounts that are looking for topics that, let's say, belong to your services or to your product. Like in this case, you can see a list of companies that are searching for, like, let's say, services or topics related to services of full funnel data, account-based marketing, demand generation, consulting, account-based sales development, B2B marketing, etc. And now you have a list of these companies. So you can, again, by knowing that their assertion, they might appear in your list. Next should be account research and account qualification, then reaching out to the buying committee, etc. So this is how you can find, again, the key idea here is that you're making a list of companies that are potentially a good fit for your product or your service. Next one, follow the social signals. It can be, public roadmaps, like this is an example from Recruiters website. So they shared a public roadmap, and let's say if you are selling software development services or any kind of solutions that help them to accelerate the product development, then you can say, okay, and reach out and say, guys, I have noticed that you are working on these features and some features are scheduled for future. And basically we have some good case studies on how we have helped, company X, Y, Z, or let's say SaaS company to release these features. Would you be interested to check this case study? That's fantastic first step to deliver value upfront. Another example of social signal, let's say a post by Casey Graham, CEO at Gravy. So he said, like, we are going to, like, our strategy is to activate 1 million personal brands. And basically, let's say if there's something that your product or your service can help, then that would be a fantastic, let's say, person and company that you can reach out and start basically building this relationship and finding potential actually fit. Next point is when client success supports marketing with insights from the in-depth interviews with customers. This is something, I know most companies never do it, never talk to their customers, never run these in-depth customer interviews. But this is a fantastic opportunity, basically, first of all, to identify expansion opportunities. If you know the strategic goals of your clients, then you can upsell more licenses or upsell add-ons, or basically, if let's say if this an international company, you can sell to other branches, etc. And you can analyze the network of your clients, and if you can identify, let's say, common accounts, common connections, and these connections belong to your target accounts, then you can ask, do you know anything about this company? What are their strategic goals, etc.? And you can ask for an intro. And then let's say when this person introduces you to this new contact, you can create like a highly personalized outreach. Not in terms of selling or being pushy, but in terms of like highly dedicated, like, let's say, highly personalized message where you can present your solution in the most efficient way. So the next part I want to share with you is how to personalize your outreach and get replies. The first thing is obviously analyzing hobbies, interests, university, places of origin for personalization. This is a great example. I share it probably multiple times. So contact our prospect. I just noticed that this person is a big fan of cycling, and this person regularly, before COVID, obviously, regularly went to France and to Belgium for cycling. And based on this, I created a highly personalized proposal, and you can see like what cycling and B2B sales have in common. And I was talking about some points, like, because I knew that this company is looking for, let's say, B2B marketing. They were looking for somebody that might help with creating a go-to-market strategy for their company. So that was a good example. I personalized using this information. I was saying, like, what do cycling and complex B2B SaaS have in common? To enjoy your ride, pass through beautiful hills like the Ardèche or Haute Loire, these are French mountains, and come back safe. You'd plan your route, analyze the road and weather, prepare snacks and water, figure out the rest points, charge your phone, and much more. Otherwise, you can get stuck somewhere in the mountains waiting for somebody to come and help you out. And the same with growing a complex B2B SaaS. You would create a marketing strategy that includes the most lucrative market segments you'd focus on and ideal customer profile in the buying committee, aka the route. So you see the personalization. And then I give a context. Why did I came up with that solution? Next one. So that was, let's say, tier 1 proposal, 100% personalized. Next one, these are real-time examples of the proposals we were crafting with clients. For tier 2, they are, let's say, semi-personalized. So we are not going to, let's say, to do 100% personalized outreach, but what we are doing is that we personalize it by the needs of specific company and potential needs of different job roles. So you can see how the same message is basically the same service is pitched different ways to different job roles. CEO receives a message where we talk about quickly empowering and strengthen your team on a by-need basis with top-notch developers. For HRs, we're presenting the same service completely differently. We say like stop HR's headache of finding top-notch healthcare developers. So you can see like this is critical, adapting your message to different buying committee roles. And next one point, which I was talking about, I know Vuk has a lot of things to share with you, but basically creative outreach is critical here. So you need to cut through the noise on different channels. And these are screenshots of the proposals. I'm a big fan of direct mail outreach and then follow up via Lemlist with personalized image or video. And let me know, I have prepared some videos on how these proposals are looking like. Let me know if you would like to see how these proposals look like. Just type in the chat if you would like to see. I will keep this as short videos. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me, so can you see it? I will just open, okay. I hope you'll be able to see it right now. Let's make it the full screen. So these are the proposals we are sending to our customers, and you can see they're like 100% personalized. These are examples of tier 1 proposals. And yeah, as you guess, that's why in one of my recent LinkedIn posts, I mentioned that we always have 100% reply rate, not positive, but 100% reply rate. People always reply. They never, they never ignore these proposals because this is something that they don't receive every day. And this is an example of gifts we are sending to our prospects, just to give you an idea. And again, they are always personalized. You can hear some Serbian language on the background. So but just wanted to share with you how it looked like. And as you can imagine, like our prospects never ignore this. So let's come back to slides. Lemlist is doing the same. And they reached out to Beck Holland, who is well-known thought leader when it comes to B2B sales. And obviously, she has a huge network of potential customers of Lemlist. And they did a fantastic campaign. And actually, Beck shared this on LinkedIn. So you can see it always works. So it's all about creativity, but it's not limited to direct mail. Again, these are some examples of emails I was sending with some of the clients to tier 3, and you can see I was kidding. I love to use some jokes in the email. So not because this is what we agreed with Guillaume many years ago. B2B doesn't stand for boring to boring. You need to, at least you need to make your contact smiling after reading your emails. This is something what I sent. Like, I will be honest, I emailed you last week and didn't get a reply. And that made me sad. Anyway, I can deal with it, but not our Mr. Broccoli. He had a heart attack. So this is something that's, and of course, here appears the first name of that person, like first name, please reply back and save me, something like this, And these emails always cut through the noise and get replies. Again, something that we have discussed last time with Expander. So you can do it not only on email, you can use LinkedIn as well for, let's say, for images personalization if you want to go creative. Of course, it's not like a shortcut. It's not like a silver bullet, but this is something that you can again, you can use it if it makes sense to your audience, to your target market, and it always helps to cut out through the noise. And the last part is multi-channel outreach. This is critical. This is what I mentioned to you. So don't rely on one channel. You always must have a cadence of touches. And I know lots of companies are ignoring calls, but what I want to say here, I'm against cold calling in terms of how it's presented in the movies like Wolf from the Wall Street or The Boiler Room. This never works. But if you have had some touches, if you did warm-up campaigns, if you were following the advice we are sharing on this webinar, if you were doing, let's say, warming up campaigns, if you did an account research, if you personalized your outreach, and then you sent an email, a LinkedIn message, and you didn't get a reply, then it totally makes sense to follow up and ask, like, did you at least receive what I sent to you? So in this case, it absolutely makes sense. And keep in mind that this is a fantastic opportunity to learn more about the target accounts. If they say, sorry, I'm not interested, always treat it as an opportunity to learn why. Because you did a research, you know that this company is a good fit. They fit your ideal customer profile. Now, switch from the sales perspective to human perspective and ask a question. Okay, like, I don't want to push you, but I did an account research. I know that your company is a good fit and basically my product or my service might help you. Can you please just help me out and tell why you are not interested? So I will improve my targeting. That's fantastic. And just believe me, most prospects will give you a very thorough, very comprehensive reply, and it will help you to improve your campaigns in future. So that's it from my side. Before I will give a mic to Vuk, let me know if it was valuable for you. Do you like it and how do you like it so far? Just share quick feedback in the chat.
Can I share quick feedback in audio?
Of course.
Yeah, I think you crushed it. I think you really went in depth, man. And I saw the presentation, obviously, prior to you presenting, but it was really thorough. And I just want to give you a shout out. Truly, truly great work.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm stopping. Let me stop sharing my screen so you can start presenting. Just a second. Okay. So now it's your turn.
Indeed it is. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Cool. So officially, hey everyone, thanks Andre for the invitation, and I'm really happy to be here. And feel free to, when questions pop, just pop them in the chat, and I guess Andre and I can tackle them afterwards. Let me just open the big screen here. Okay, so a few examples of, as we promised, of successful cold outreach campaigns. And the first one that I want to talk about is intro lines that count. But before I show you the template, I guess there are two things that I wanna quickly address. Number one is one of the things we find in research is that sometimes people take a shortcut in terms of chasing outcomes. So in order for a cold email to be successful, you always want to visualize the funnel and think about, you're not selling the finish line, you're selling the next step. So for example, the Limeliss funnel can look like a cold email or an outbound campaign, multi-channel campaign, then a demo call, then a free trial, then a paid conversion or immediate paid conversion, depending on what we're talking about. And so the goal of the cold email is not to sell the trial or to sell a paid account. It's to sell the meeting and get people intrigued and hooked. So that's kind of like a number one thing you wanna do before you start writing. So think about the goal and focus on the goal. So the goal is to start a conversation, get a reply, and book a demo. And the other thing is you want to make an email feel like a tailored suit or dress. You want to make it relevant to the person who's about to read it. And like Andre, shared a couple of principles. And I think Vincent had a good question in chat, like, how can you do this in a scalable way? Like, you don't have a lot of hours to personalize things. And so number one thing is something that you can do relatively fast, but you can't do it, like driving to 200 miles an hour. You have to give it some time. It's the intro lines that count. And I guess intro line is something like a first impression, not just because it's, the first thing people will read in the email, but also because it's visible in the inbox. So depending whether we're talking about desktop or mobile, intro line can be a part that's visible within the inbox. And so if I see something like hi and without no name, I will never open the email. That's the rule. And if I see something that's, too selfish, let's call it like this, salesy with a short subject line, it can also decimate your open rate and kind of, doom your campaign. So the thing with the intro line is there are a couple of strategies to leverage. You can use a genuine compliment and be mindful of the fact that people tend to, if they read my blog article, they will say, hey, I've read, 5 sales cold email templates. It's amazing. But that's generic now. That was fun a couple of years ago. Now it's generic. What you want to do is, like there was another comment in the chat, when you zig when everybody zags. I guess that's the thing. Like give genuine compliments when the majority is giving soulless kind of generic feel. So you can base the compliment a lot of things, but it has to be genuine. You have to really mean it. The second thing is a common ground between you and your prospect, and there's plenty of things. Like in sales, if you have the same pains, same challenges, same experience, or with any other case, like same hobby, you both are into something. Like Andre and I have, I guess, like a lot of besides football, I guess we can talk about Inter or a couple of things, and it's not too bad to start sometimes an email like this, which will really, lower the guard of a prospect, and then intro line can play that beautiful role of starting to build a relationship and motivate person to reply to you. And you can always use a reference. We love referrals. They're, the best. They always will be the best, but you can also use things like recommended by, did you do something together in the past? Like, hey, like Andre, we did this webinar a year ago. It was awesome. And, remind somebody about that. Or, we did a webinar with Morgan J. Ingram, and then we say like, hey, John, like Morgan recommended, we have to invite you as a guest. And then use those kind of things to really, scale your outreach and make it successful. And this is like a thing. We have this tiramisu intro line called email strategy. And Vincent, this is the way you kind of do it relatively fast. So you have the copy. I mean, your ICP and your target persona needs to be on point. So everybody, if you're talking about pain or solution, if the invitation, whatever is the copy and the goal, the audience that you're targeting must have that same pain, must have that same goal. And then you just optimize the intro line or something else that will fit. And we call it tiramisu because it's cold and sweet. And this was the idea, to invite sales experts to our webinars and do them live, obviously. And so the first tag was replaced with the genuine compliment. And genuine compliments in this particular case was if I was sending it to Tim Solo or Ren Fishkin or John Barrows. They're all extremely busy people. So for me, it was listening to the interview they did and giving them a meaningful comment about it. And then the tiramisu 2 tag was changed with the topic proposal. And that topic proposal was sharp and precise, which will, give them a quick preview of what we want to talk about in the episode. And it was something really specific and really clear to begin with. And then the third part was make them want to join and explain what's in it for them. Like we'll talk about sales campaigns in the next examples, but since this one is the marketing one, the marketing cold emailing is about making win-wins. Like why should Team Solo join our webinars? What's in it for him? And then, we have this audience, that's relevant. Many of them are SEO agencies or content marketeers that might want to use Ahrefs in the future. So we give them exposure, and you want to kind of create that win-win situation and get them excited, get them excited about, hey, I want to do this webinar, I'm going to reply. And this was the recent campaign. Like for webinars, I had even a little bit different results, but this one was sent like I said 10 days ago. So it's fresh, and you can see it's working really well for us. So intro lines is something that you want to leverage, and there are so many opportunities for so many different outcomes. But if we switch it to sales, because as I recall, more comments were from the sales world. There's this cool thing that our sales team use in their outbound campaigns, and we call it like a job ad hack. So what you want to do is, this is like the preview of the funnel. So you want to identify the outcome they are chasing in the ad. So a company might be expanding their sales team and hiring more SDRs, which is a trigger for Lemlist that, hey, they need a cold email tool, they need a sales automation tool, and they will have more SDRs who will need to use that tool. So we have our target persona, and we know their position, we know their objective, whatever. Then you figure, how do you position your product as a solution without directly selling it, more like teasing it. And you obviously, like I said in the initial part, like you focus on starting a conversation. And so this is an example. Like these guys are chasing a sales representative, and you see like their day-to-day, how does it look? And you can speak directly to prospects' ambitions. Like if they want to achieve, conquer the, multi-channel outbound sales, we know how we can position Lemlist as a solution there. If they want to, have a team of 100 people with high deliverability, a lot of campaigns, then we know another way to position the tool. So this is an easy hack. Like all the information is out there. All you got to do is grab it, segment it, and structure it. And then this is the campaign that's active in Lemlist right now. So the relevant subject line that speaks directly with the ambition of a job ad. Then you start with the intro line. In this particular case, it's straight to the point, and shows that you're paying attention, shows that you did some research, shows the relevance. When you match personalization and relevance, that's like the sweet spot. Relevant personalization is the best thing you can do. Then a genuine compliment is always a good idea, because you want your email, even though it's obvious you're selling something, you want it to be in the friendly waters. You want it to be more of a conversation rather than you telling about how amazing, me telling about how amazing Lemlist is. And then the trick our team did is they identified the pain, and we connect the solution, but in a non-salesy way. And we connected with the, offering it by trying to tease it a little bit, make it sound interesting. And it's tied to where they want to go as a company. It's really super tight. And sometimes, you can create one template that has like a list of 20, 100, whatever people that have the same goal, and you can have the same template. Sometimes you need a little bit of more personalization. Will depend on your audience and your segmentation. And you will see that there's no, would you like to book a call or sending them a link? In our recent study, one of the best ways to do it is making people reply and show that they're interested. When they show that they're interested, then we can start booking calls, and it's more of a hack to qualify people without doing any qualification yourself. This is one of the results. So it's a 50% reply rate from one of the recent campaigns, and it works insanely well. Insanely well if you personalize it. If you personalize it really good. And another thing that you can do, it's really connected, but this, becomes, goes into more investigation a little bit. So you've identified the pain instead of what the company wants to do. You know that company, segment A has this problem, segment B has this problem, but your solution fixes both problems. And you identify these pain points by going to places where your audience spends time. So for us, and I guess a lot of people in the SaaS space, there's a lot of Facebook communities where people share their pain points. On LinkedIn, I don't even have to explain why LinkedIn is so big, but you now have Clubhouse, podcasts, blogs, people share, people become more authentic. Like you can identify the pains and organize your lists according to pains. And then you position your feature or your product or your service as a problem solution, as a way to take this needle out of their back. And all you got to do is structure it. And I can give you a recent example that I think it's cool. And one guy was pitching me with a product, and they just launched it. It was, it has potential. It's really good. We might want to use it in the future, but right now there's no need for us. It's a recruiting product, as I recall. And he was pitching me, and what was funny about it is at the end he asked, like, how would you rate my outreach? Well, exactly what Andrei said. It was an interesting approach. And I usually, like in 90% of cases, I always reply to outreach. I say no when we're not interested. I say yes when we are, and I give other responses based on approach. And I replied, obviously, and then I did an audio message explaining like what would I do, like how would I pitch myself and how would I pitch this product. And he tried it. To my, yeah, I was in all smiles, and I received then this reply, and this is the inspiration behind this. Like it really works, and it can be applied in many different ways. And this is an example of a template. So let's imagine I have an audience that has an issue with emails going to spam, low deliverability. They can have the best email possible, but it's not, the open rate is not there. People are not seeing it. And so if you discover that somebody posted this in a Facebook community and you have 30 people or whatever amount of people speaking about this topic, you always want to go straight to the pain and, when possible, nail the timing. So don't wait for too long, but try to be, proactive in reaching out fast. And then reference your research, like reference where I discovered this. Don't go into it really guns blazing with, I have a solution, blah, blah, but kind of open it up, but keep it straight to the point. Show empathy. Like you will see that in this particular case, what I love to talk about is how I solved it. Like we had the issue with deliverability at Limelight at some point when we started scaling our team because we're really monitoring this a lot. And so when you face this challenge and you solved it yourself, you can connect based on the pain. So you're not coming as a teacher, you're more coming as a mentor, I'd say. I kind of separate the two because I can share you my experience and help you solve something that was troubling me not so long ago. And so it becomes like a advice and a strategy or a tactic or whatever the case may be, and not your product. Your product is just a part of the story. And then the video that kind of explains this strategy showcases me and my personality, shows that I'm a real person, kind of does a couple of things at the same time, and it helps me position my product better. So I can, go from the pain, offer the solution, and tie Lemlist within the solution. Like talk about Lamworm, and talk about custom tracking domain, or whatever the case may be. And this is what I meant. Like this is takes a bit more personalization. So all you see in this email is pulled from a CSV file. Lemlist does the image personalization, so every image is unique to the person, but everything is pulled out of a CSV file. It's nothing complex, and no email is really the same. Like if I have 3 problems: email deliverability, low open rates, low reply rates, and potentially a multi-channel problem, I can have 3 different types, of emails going to people. And these are the results. So usually you do this in the low batches just because of the amount of search you do. But it's a really useful hack and a really useful thing. And it's, really targeted, really qualified, works like a charm. And the final one is the multi-channel campaign, is when you kind of want to leverage different channels in your outbound sales from one clean space, I'd say. And so this is the funnel that one of our members in the sales team uses. I mean, a lot of them use, obviously, but the particular case is from Simon. So step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4, pretty, you'll know the drill. And I guess this kind of gets into how many follow-ups. One of the questions that it was asked in the chat, like how many follow-ups do I need? How many touch points do I need, especially in the multi-channel? In this particular case, Simon has 4. So he starts building a relationship on LinkedIn, and depends on, he has a couple of audiences, couple of batches, but you can play this out in different ways. You can use Phantom Buster to connect. You can manually do it if you prefer it manually. You can expose people to your content or engage on their content. You can export the comments from a specific post. Like you probably learned this in one of Andrei's previous webinars. Like there's plenty of ways in which you can organize LinkedIn to fit your purpose and adjust to your audience. And then after sending him a DM on LinkedIn, which is kind of like hey, what's up, blah, blah, something that's more to the tune of connecting rather than selling, he does a follow-up via email. And this refers to something he asked in the intro line, in the DM into LinkedIn, but it's also really short and sticks to the point. And it's always about starting a relationship, as you can see. Like it's a 3-liner. It's it doesn't have some huge personalization in it, but it has a milestone of a company, and it's a mix of things. And then it's to get the conversation going and to get a reply. Simon, in this particular case, is curious about, outreach, how they use it, and asks all kinds of questions that will open the conversation and leave the door open for Lamlist to kick in. If they don't reply to that email, he cold calls them. And one trick that he uses is that he always refers the next step. So if he cold calls people, he talks only about the previous email. He doesn't go into the LinkedIn. He always refers the previous step, and he has a lot of cool cold calling tricks. We can send you the blog article with the full study of this. But in any case, in Lamlist, we have this option to cold call people and to set multi-channel things, multi-channel campaigns, and all the information is there. If he wants to put a note about a specific prospect, whatever he needs, he can easily see the sales stage a prospect is at, blah, 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 and call them relatively easy. So it's a time saver in the same time as it allows you to really cold call people from one space. And then if they don't reply, there's another campaign that he sends, and this is, I would say the longest in terms of how much content it goes into there. So he leaves the subject line empty, so it goes under the same thread as the previous email, but he adds one more icebreaker, and this icebreaker is, another milestone or a compliment or whatever the case may be, depends on the prospect, and everything else is more or less the same. Sometimes the icebreaker can also be a reminder about the cold call, and you can remind them about the cold call because they will have a missed call on your side. Simon loves this, and it really works beautifully for him. And then what's the trick is the value, with the follow-up, sometimes you want to avoid being annoying. You want to avoid repeating yourself a lot. You want your follow-up to add value, add something new to the conversation. I mean, you can't really come up with water, but you can switch the conversation. You can switch little things, storytelling, or how you talk about the problem. In this particular case, Simon, with his sentence above the image, he decided to introduce himself and talk about some outreach things within the email. This is a personalized video thumbnail for the person. It has their own logo, company logo, their LinkedIn profiles, or whatever he wants to use, or anybody else, and of course the first name. So when people click, they are redirected to the specific page, which is customized to the person. You can put whatever text you want. You can put their logo. You can put whatever video you like. It will depend. This is another option within Lamlist that we really love, and our team uses this a lot. Not just because you can customize a page, but because you can kind of fight friction, since you can also embed your Calendly. And once people finish watching the video, if the content is on point in the video, if you make it really cool, it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be short, it just has to be exciting enough for them to immediately book a meeting. And so once they finish watching that video, if you nail the message, it takes them 3 seconds to book the meeting down below. They don't have to click or go elsewhere. They don't have to figure out what to do. It's super easy, and it kind of fights friction, and friction is the enemy we all share, I'm afraid. And for Simon, this works amazing. When I was creating a blog article about this and was picking his brain around how he did this, how he did that, the campaign is insane. And it's just adapting the message to the audience, but it works wonderfully. And I guess this kind of finishes my examples. And if Andre agrees, I guess we can just talk about specific things from your world.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, let me ask you guys to share your feedback. Was it valuable for you? How did you like the presentation? That's the first question. And the second one, feel free to jump in and ask any questions you have, or type them in the comments, and we'll nail these questions with Wook. So looking forward for your feedback. Great things mentioning today, guys. I will scroll the chat to the beginning. Again, just keep in mind, definitely I will send you a recording. I will create a content hub. This is what I'm usually doing. I will add slides, video. I will add some guides for you. One of them will be Lemley's guide on email warm up and tag setup, because I saw this question about like how to warm up the domain. The same about how to make sure that your emails are not get into the spam folder or to the promotion folder in Gmail. So you'll see like a practical advice in that guide. I will add my article on developing ideal customer profile. That might be helpful for you as well. Let me know, because we mentioned several times like a previous webinar I have done 2 weeks ago. I don't know if all of you had the chance to watch it, but if you'd like to see that webinar about LinkedIn demand generation, let me know if you are interested. So I will add a link to that webinar as well to the Content Hub.
So this email is going to be...
Sorry?
This email you're going to send, it's obviously going to be amazing.
Yeah, but it won't be a cold email. So okay, so let's move to the questions. Yeah, and guys, feel free please to first of all to share your feedback, and secondly ask any questions you have. I'm scrolling to the first question that was Luke replied to this question in the chat.
For the subject line question, sorry for sharing the blog article, but you have 56 subject lines that we tested and used, and probably you can just borrow some and adapt it because there's plenty. I mean, if you want to talk about subject lines, share like what's the goal you're chasing, and then we can tailor it down.
Okay, so the first question was about scalability, and basically this is what I mentioned. If you'll have a time, just visit my LinkedIn profile. One of the recent posts I shared about the growth, obsession, and scalability. Most of companies tend to skip the most important steps and think, okay, I need just to scale the process. I need to reach out to as many companies as possible. And this is what I mean by playing the game of numbers. For me, it totally makes sense to devote some time to make like in-depth account research for my tier 1 companies, to find the needs, to find the gap, and then create like 100, first of all, next, connecting with these people. So they're aware about me, they see my content, I deliver some value upfront. That's another topic. You'll see some examples in the LinkedIn demand generation webinar. And next step is like qualifying them. And if I see the fit, then I create this 100% personalized campaign. And the best part about this is even if like it's a wrong time, or they're not ready to buy, or there might be a budget question, doesn't matter what should be the reason for the negative reply. But the key point here is that they're always mind blown by the approach. They always appreciate the way how we are reaching out to them, and they're eager to recommend us to somebody. They're eager to recommend us to their network. For me, it's critical. And there is and if you are selling, let's say, high ticket products or high ticket services, or your company has long and complex sales cycle, that should be your approach. On contrary, if you are selling, let's say, a low ticket product, I don't know, let's say $5 per user, I don't know, software as a service product, then you don't need to rely on cold outreach. But that's my sincere feedback. I'd rather go for paid acquisition, for search engine optimization, and for content marketing, because this is a mass product. You have lots of opportunities to drive bunch of leads from Facebook communities, whatever. Just write a good content, involve some thought leaders, involve like, let's say, community admins that will help to promote that piece of content and drive that traffic, because the conversion is really easy. You have a low barrier to try your product, and especially if you provide a free trial, then it becomes no-brainer to try your product after providing a good article. So that's my key point on cold outreach. So scalability here, how you can scale. Basically, you can create a so-called account-based marketing team, but account-based marketing shouldn't be your, let's say, one strategy. It's just a part of marketing operations. And when it comes to account-based marketing, what can you do? You can just outsource the account selection. Somebody who will be checking this, let's say, buying signals, social signals, intent data, etc. Next, somebody who will be doing the account research, because as you have seen, you have asked this question, like it takes time to really do a good comprehensive account research. And this is the way how you can scale it. So people will be in charge of different parts of these campaigns. So this is how you can scale, and you can, prospect on more accounts. So that's the first thing. Anything to add, Vuk?
I think you nailed pretty much everything, man. I don't want to repeat. I'll probably let more questions kick in.
Yeah, so there was another one about cold outreach response differ from region to region, and I think you nailed it, because it really depends on some cultural aspects, etc. And as well, it depends, like, first of all, if you are, what I have noticed, I will just give you a very good example. You know that in Europe, we have big markets like France, Spain, Germany, that are well-established markets, and they prefer, like, they have, in general, they have a protectionist mindset. I mean that they prefer to work with local vendors, and they have some specific cultural aspects. That said, like, if you are reaching out to, let's say, to people in Germany or even in Poland, you know that I'm half Polish, half Ukrainian. So if you reach out to Polish people without adding a word pan, which means Mr. in Polish, that would be impolite outreach. That's the first thing you always need to keep in mind, and especially if you'll be reaching out to elder people, or the same in Germany, if you'll miss this, let's say, hair, or how it's called the right way, or ger, I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. So that would be impolite for these people. So of course there are cultural aspects that you need to learn. And what I have seen, some companies, they want to do, let's say, a localized outreach, but they don't have native speakers, and they try to pretend, that they are doing localized outreach, but it sounds ridiculous to local people. So in this particular case, it's always better to find a local copywriter who will write a great copy in a local language than pretending that you know it. So that might be another mistake that can negatively impact the entire outbound campaign. As for the cadence of touches, this is something that I mentioned. I feel it's up to you. Best practices are just the best practices for companies that share it, because it's really, I hate this answer, but it really depends on your industry, on the companies you are prospecting. For me, the rule of thumb is 3 touches per channel, which means, let's say, by default we have call, we have LinkedIn, and we have email. So in total, at least you'll have 9 touches. But that's my just basic recommendation. Will it work for you? So you need to test it out and see.
Yeah, I guess it always depends. Like sometimes even like I've saw campaigns that have more than 15 touches that work in enterprise sales, for example. I saw it quite recently. And what you mentioned about localized, like, you know what I did? Like in the early days in Limelight, I did a Spanish campaign, obviously in Spanish. And I used the intro line again. I just switched it. Like, listen, I'm a Serbian who understands and learned Spanish in the past. So I start with an honesty without pretending to be an expert, and kind of, again, lowers the guard. Like, I guess that honesty can help you localize it. And understanding the different traits, I guess this is a huge thing. It's not only a country thing, it's also a role thing. Like developers, totally different language than me, than marketeers, totally. Recruiters, totally different demos I run for recruiters compared to the salespeople, and totally different inside recruiters. There are different audiences, people recruiting for developers, people recruiting for other people. Like, I think you just learn that through trial and error. It's impossible to get an answer without you just being patient with the mistakes you make.
One more question I would like to answer here. So that was a question for multi-touch. As you can see, you can do multi-touch follow-ups manually. You don't need even any software for this if you want. But in future, Book can share. Lemley's team is working on creating a complete outbound solution for you. So far, you can do some multi-channel follow-ups in Lemley, so just give it a try. But again, you can always do it manually, so up to you. You don't need to have any specific stack for this. One more question I want to really answer is about subject lines. That was like a good question, like if I have a high open rate but a very low reply rate, so what can I do? From my point of view, you should never consider the efficiency of your outbound campaign by open rates. Because I have seen people, I know some creative marketers who were just kidding, did this for fun. They were sending, maybe it's not correct to share it on this webinar, but just to give you an idea, there was one guy who just tested the titles and was sending emails with like subject line, "fuck you." I know that sounds ridiculous, but he had like a fantastic open rate. He did it just for fun. This is, I'm sharing that it means nothing, it means nothing. The key goal for optimization would be the number of sales qualified opportunities. And if you have a very low reply rate, for me, it means that either you did a mistake on account selection level, or account segmentation, or account qualification, or you didn't do any kind of warm-up programs, or the last part is that your message is not really personalized, so it's just a generic message.
It's also good for open rate, if I might add, like a good thing to measure is email deliverability. Like above 50% is something that you want to hit. If it's lower than 50%, you might have a deliverability issue, and you might want to see if people are actually seeing your emails. And I guess the issue was high open rate, low reply rate, right?
Yes. So high open rate and low reply rate. So
yeah, I guess it's matching the intent. Like I've seen there are a couple of things that might be wrong. Like if your open rate is something promises something, but the copy within the email doesn't deliver on the promise that you made, it's going to be an issue. It might be that you're maybe pushing it too hard. It's maybe too salesy. Maybe you're selling something too early before establishing a relationship. Like if you want, shoot me that email at book@lemless.com, and I'll find time to analyze it a little bit. But there could be a couple of things.
So two last things from me. First of all, I made a short tweet about this webinar, so if you will have a time just to retweet it or comment, leaving your feedback, I will appreciate it a lot. Or post it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever works for you. That's the first thing. I dropped a link to that tweet in the chat. And the second one, if you can switch on your camera, so I will make a picture of all of us. Yeah, because the audience is really great. Questions were great. And I hope that you loved the webinar. So it would be a pleasure of mine to make a picture of all of us here. Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, guys, for attending this webinar. Hope it was really valuable for you. And yeah, in 2 weeks, so every 2 weeks, I'm co-hosting basically these webinars with my colleagues. So next one would be with my co-author of LinkedIn Inbound book, with Ricardo Gekira from Upthrust Agency. So we are going to talk about LinkedIn account-based marketing. And a month from today, I'm going to host a webinar with Scott Clary from United States, who is like well-known thought leader. And we are going to talk about all-bound marketing, something that would be very interesting for salespeople. So keep an eye on my emails, and thanks a lot for attending the event. Cheers. Take care.
Bye.